The basement was cold. Not just the kind of cold that bites your skin, but the kind that seeps into your bones and whispers that no one is coming. My wrists were raw against the metal cuffs that chained me to a rusty pipe. Every sound, the slow drip of water, the groan of the house above, echoed like a memory I wanted to forget. My name is Elena, and I am 68 years old. The house that once smelled of baked bread and laughter had become my tomb. And the one who put me here was my own son, Alex, the boy whose first cry I still remembered, whose tiny hand once clung to my finger like I was his whole world. Now, he was somewhere out at sea, sipping champagne beside his wife, Sophia, and her mother, Vivian, while I sat in darkness, my lips cracked with thirst. People say betrayal feels like a knife, but they are wrong. Knives are quick. Betrayal is slow, it seeps into you like poison, taking your faith one heartbeat at a time. But to understand how I ended up here, you need to know how much I loved him. Because love was both my blessing and my curse. I was 20 when life decided to test me. My husband left without a word, a suitcase, or a goodbye. He said he couldn't handle the weight of responsibility, that he needed freedom. Freedom, what a cruel word. It left me alone in a rented apartment, with a 10-year-old boy and a heart full of unanswered prayers. I became mother and father, hope and shelter, all at once. My hands grew rough from sewing fabric in a small garment factory on the outskirts of town. Each stitch I made carried a silent promise. You will never feel the hunger I've felt. Alex was my reason for breathing. He had a smile that could melt ice and eyes that believed the world was kind. I lived for those eyes. Every morning before dawn, I'd lace my worn shoes, whisper a prayer, and walk to the factory through the misty streets. The machines roared all day, the pay was small, but his laughter made it feel enough. One November evening, he came home crying. His classmates had laughed at his torn sneakers. That night, as rain drummed against our leaking roof, I opened a small tin box hidden behind the flour jar, my secret savings. I had been saving for a coat to survive winter. Instead, I used it all to buy him a pair of new sneakers. When he saw them the next morning, his face lit up like sunrise. He threw his arms around me and said, "You're the best mom in the world." I smiled, pretending not to cry. That was the moment I decided, whatever it took, I would make his dreams come true. Years turned into a blur of sacrifice. I skipped meals so he could eat more, took extra shifts so he could study. When he turned 18, I borrowed money to buy him the scooter he wanted. When he entered college to study architecture, I mortgaged our little house. People warned me not to risk everything, but how could I not? He was my future, my pride, my heartbeat. When he graduated at 23, wearing that cap and gown, I thought all the pain had been worth it. He hugged me in front of everyone, whispering, "I couldn't have done it without you." I believed him. I believed that love and effort could never turn to dust, but then Sophia came. The first time I met her, I felt the air grow colder. She was beautiful, elegant, sharp, confident, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. They studied me like I was something to be tolerated. Still, I tried. I baked her favorite pastries, ironed Alex's shirts before their dates, even sold my old jewelry to help with their engagement. She would thank me sweetly, but her tone carried the chill of pity. "You've done enough, Elena," she'd say. "Alex and I can handle things from now on." From now on. 3 small words that sounded like a door quietly closing. Their wedding was a grand affair, bright chandeliers, white roses, a live orchestra. I sat quietly in a corner, wearing a simple blue gown I'd bought second-hand. When the priest said, "Who gives this man in marriage?" my throat tightened. I wanted to whisper, "I do. I give you my son, my years, my sacrifices." But no one asked. When they walked down the aisle together, radiant and smiling, I clapped until my palms ached. My tears fell silently, not from joy, but from the strange ache of knowing something precious was slipping away. After that, my home grew quieter. Alex visited less, always with Sophia by his side. She talked more than he did, about new friends, expensive dinners, their dream house in a fancy suburb. I listened politely, even when her words stung. Once, when I offered her homemade soup, she laughed softly and said, "Oh, we don't really eat this kind of thing anymore." Alex chuckled too. My heart sank. One Sunday, I made his favorite roast, just the way he liked it, seasoned slowly, with love. When he arrived, I noticed his cold eyes before he even spoke. "Mom," he said, "we need space." I froze. Space? From me? Sophia feels suffocated. You visit too much. I'm not a little boy anymore. But I only want to see you. You're my family. He sighed, pushing his plate away. You can't make me your whole world. It's unhealthy. Unhealthy. The word cut deeper than any insult. How could love be unhealthy? He left that night without eating. I sat there for hours, staring at the untouched meal, hearing the echo of his footsteps fade into silence. That silence never left. Months passed, and his visits became a memory. The only time he called was when he needed something: money for a car, help with documents, or favors for Sophia's parties. I gave without question, because that's what mothers do. When I fell ill with the flu, I called him, shivering with fever. "Please, can you take me to the doctor?" I begged. He sighed. "I'm in a meeting, Mom. Ask someone else." The line went dead. I sat there, phone trembling in my hand, realizing I was utterly alone. My neighbor, Clara, found me days later, weak and dizzy. She took care of me like family, bringing soup and medicine. I cried in her arms, whispering, "Where did I go wrong?" She stroked my hair gently and said, "You didn't go wrong, dear. Some hearts forget too easily." When I recovered, I promised myself I'd never beg for love again. But Alex and Sophia didn't stop. One afternoon, they arrived unannounced, accusing me of gossiping about them. Sophia's voice dripped with contempt. "You always play the victim," she sneered. I turned to Alex, searching for the son I once knew. But he only looked away. That was the moment I felt something break inside me, not my heart, but my illusion. I walked to my drawer, took out the will I had written years ago naming Alex as my heir, and tore it into pieces. They watched in shock. "Mom, what are you doing?" "Correcting my mistakes," I said quietly. Sophia's face twisted with anger. "You'll regret this." "No," I replied, my voice steady for the first time in years. "For once, I won't." When they slammed the door behind them, I stood in the middle of my living room, surrounded by torn paper and shattered memories. My hands were trembling, but my soul felt strangely free. For decades, I had lived for others. Now, I would learn to live for myself. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But as tears rolled down my cheeks, I whispered into the quiet, "I gave you everything, my son. All I ever wanted was your love." And in that moment, for the first time in a long, long while, I allowed myself to weep, not from weakness, but from the strength it takes to let go. The night they left, my house felt like a storm had passed through, papers torn, Frames shattered, the scent of anger still hanging in the air. But beneath the wreckage, I felt something unexpected. Not defeat. Freedom. For the first time, the silence didn't frighten me, it comforted me. It was the sound of a woman rediscovering her strength. I spent that night sitting by the window, the moonlight falling gently across the floor. I thought about the girl I used to be, the 20-year-old who had stitched clothes until her fingers bled, the mother who had given up sleep, comfort, and dreams for her child. I realized I wasn't weak for loving too much. I was strong for surviving love that wasn't returned, but still, a part of me grieved. Grieved the son I'd lost, though he was still alive. Grieved the laughter that once filled this home. Grieved the version of me who believed love alone could fix everything. As dawn crept across the horizon, I made a decision. I couldn't change the past, but I could control how my story ended. If my life had been defined by sacrifice, then the rest of it would be defined by justice. From under my bed, I pulled out a small old cell phone I had hidden months earlier. I called my neighbor Clara. Her voice trembled when she answered, "Elena. Are you all right?" "I'm fine," I said quietly. "But I need your help. Not for revenge, for closure." Within minutes, Clara was at my door. She hugged me tightly when she saw the state of my house. "This is not right," she said through tears. "You have to report them." "Not yet," I replied. "I want to do this the right way, my way." That morning, I called my lawyer, Mr. Grayson, a kind man who had handled my papers for years. "I need to change my will," I told him. "Everything I own, my house, my savings, every last cent, will go to a foundation for single mothers. Women like me who gave everything and were left with nothing." He hesitated. "Are you sure, Elena?" "More sure than I've ever been," I said. "I built my life from ashes. Now I want to help others rise from theirs." The paperwork was signed that afternoon, witnessed and sealed. For the first time in years, I felt light. As if the burden of waiting for someone's love had finally slipped from my shoulders. 3 days later, Alex and Sophia returned. Their expressions were smug, confident, as if they had already won some invisible war. Sophia smiled too sweetly. "Mom," she began, "we've been thinking. It might be best for you to move into a nice care home. You'll have people around you, nurses, activities." Her voice was honeyed, but her eyes were cold. Alex added softly, "We can sell this house and handle the finances for you. It's for your comfort." I smiled faintly. "Of course," I said, feigning calm. "But before we make any decisions, there's something important in the basement I want to show you." They followed me downstairs, their steps echoing on the wooden stairs. The basement was dimly lit, but everything they needed to see was already there, laid out like pieces of a puzzle. On one wall, I had pinned photographs, bank receipts, text messages, and voice notes, every unreturned loan, every cruel word, every moment they had tried to strip me of dignity. On a small table sat my laptop, recording everything that happened in real time. Clara and my lawyer were watching through a live call, along with a local reporter I trusted. Sophia frowned. "What is this?" "Proof," I said quietly. "Proof that love, when twisted by greed, becomes cruelty." Alex looked pale. "Mom, you're overreacting." "No," I interrupted softly. "For years, I was silent. I thought silence was love. But silence only feeds the wrong people. You used my kindness, my trust. You took everything I had, not money, not property, but my heart. And I let you. But that ends today. Sophia's tone turned sharp. This is insane. You can't expose family matters like this. Family? I repeated, my voice breaking. Family doesn't lock you away with hunger. Family doesn't trade affection for control. You stopped being family the day you chose greed over love. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, in the distance, sirens began to wail, growing louder. Sophia's face turned white. What did you do? She hissed. I did what any mother would do, I said softly. I protected what little of myself I had left. When the officers arrived, I told them everything. The manipulation. The threats. The night they'd locked me in the basement, for my safety. I showed them the evidence, every message, every bank withdrawal, every proof of neglect. The officers listened carefully, and when they left, I felt something inside me lift, like the final page of a heavy chapter turning at last. The investigation took months. The truth came out slowly, piece by piece, like dawn breaking after a long night. Alex lost his job after his firm learned of the scandal. Sophia's reputation was shattered. Their friends turned away, and for once, they tasted the loneliness I had lived with for years. I didn't celebrate. I only prayed they'd finally learn the value of what they had thrown away, and as for me, I began again. My Foundation, the Elena Trust, opened within a year. We offered scholarships, housing, and counseling to struggling single mothers. Women who had been forgotten found hope again. Every smile I saw there felt like healing, like pieces of my soul being stitched back together. Clara became my closest friend, and together we made sure no woman would ever feel as invisible as I once did. Then, one quiet morning in spring, I heard a knock on my door. When I opened it, I saw Alex. His hair was unkempt, his face lined with regret. He looked smaller somehow, not in body, but in spirit. Mom, he whispered, his voice breaking. I'm sorry. I lost everything. Sophia's gone. I don't have anyone left. For a long moment, I just looked at him. The boy I had raised was gone, but somewhere behind those tired eyes, I saw a flicker of the child he once was. Sit, I said gently. He hesitated, then obeyed. Tears filled his eyes. I was blind, Mom. I let her change me. I thought success mattered more than love. I reached across the table and placed my hand over his trembling one. I forgave you a long time ago, Alex. But forgiveness doesn't mean things go back to how they were. It means I won't carry the weight of hate anymore. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. And for the first time in years, silence between us felt peaceful, not empty. Now, as I sit on my porch watching the sunset, I think about the strange journey of life. Pain, betrayal, forgiveness, they all shape us in ways we never expect. I used to believe my story ended in heartbreak. But I was wrong. It ended in strength. My garden blooms again. Roses, lilies, sunflowers, each one growing from soil watered with tears, but reaching for the light all the same. And as the golden sun slips behind the horizon, I whisper to the wind, I am free.